What's up, y'all? Just a very regular world map sort of video today. So I'm just gonna be doing a pro world, no move, and explain my guesses. You know, the classic. So yeah, let's just get right into it. As always. All right, we start off in India here. We have the shit cam, obviously. We have the box car, which tells us we're probably in like one of these states over here. I see a ton of rice fields. Immediately my mind goes to UP, very flat. Lots of brick buildings as well. Um, some eucalyptus over here. That's very common in UP, and also just like tree rows in general, I would say is very common in UP. Yeah, I don't think there's really anything else. I mean, we have Hindi. It doesn't look like it says anything useful there. Yeah, I mean, region guessing UP is kind of difficult. I would say maybe slightly more east. I don't think it looks very far western, but it doesn't look too far eastern either. So like Lucknow area, I guess is good. No, it was okay. It was pretty east, but yeah. Oh, let me restart my state streak. We're not on 8. Yeah, okay, let's get into the next one here. So this one, definitely thinking UK or Ireland right off the bat. We have this like Gen 2 coverage. We have this very barren landscape where, I mean, there's like no vegetation at all except for grass. That's very typical of the British Isles. And then we have like a couple of like pine forests. I don't know if these are like natural or planted. Usually most of the pine forests around there are planted. They're not natural forests. This one honestly is quite difficult. I'm not entirely sure which one. I would probably lean Scotland ever so slightly, especially with mountains east of us, but I could definitely see somewhere on the west coast of Ireland being possible. So it's very tough to say here. Yeah, I mean Scotland I would go like here, although I don't know, maybe it is a better idea to go like somewhere over here. Do we have any mountains to our south? No, not really. Okay, then maybe I just keep like I don't know, something like this would make sense, wouldn't it? um Mountains are kind of like northeast. I mean, I don't know, it could very well be like a road over here. But do I ever go for that? I don't know. Oh gosh. Already gonna lose. Um Screw it, let's try it. Okay, nice. It was there. Yeah, I don't know. Something about I feel like even the Gen 2 cover specifically, like that's just such a Ireland thing. When you see that like barren middle of nowhere sort of coverage. So yeah, but that one's honestly quite tough. UK, Ireland 50-50s are very difficult. This one I definitely think is Australia. We have a bunch of eucalyptus here. These specifically are like mallee trees. Which like you can tell because of their like sort of like flat canopy. They have all the leaves kind of at the top, and those are really common along the southern Australian coast. This specifically, I would be thinking probably South Australia. The soil is not too red. This sort of pinkish color I feel like is very common in South Australia. And I would probably say, I don't know, like this peninsula. I forget what this peninsula is called. This is the Eyre Peninsula. Yeah, this is the Cape York Peninsula, I think. Eyre Peninsula. I'm gonna say it's here. Okay, yeah. I considered going even more this way. I think like the more west you get, the more it's just like mallee trees and like kind of barren landscape, which fit for that for sure. So that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, this one I'm seeing a Brazil pole over here with the sort of ladder indents. We have a couple of palms here, likely, I don't know actually, they might be macaw palms, but they might be something else. Like, Yeah, these look like macaw palms, I would say. And then we have a piranha pine here. Okay. So that's actually really helpful here because I think NMPZ you might not initially think RGDS, but I'm definitely thinking RGS when I see this piranha pine. Piranha pine is obviously found in the south, including in Paraná. But yeah, I mean, I think this landscape is a little too dry. Um, and like the more south you go, it definitely gets a little more dry, like as you get towards Uruguay. So yeah, and like, lower vegetation and less agriculture as well in general. Although the northern part of the state does have plenty of agriculture. So I'm just gonna go, I'm really not sure where exactly in the state, but I'm just gonna go kind of central here. No, it was actually piranha. Okay, that's a very surprising one, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, makes sense, I guess. Especially with the macaw palms. I think macaw palms would be more likely because macaw palms are very common in central Brazil. This one is Thailand. We have the Thai bollards. We have white signposts on the signs, yellow center lines, and driving left, as you can see here. And yeah, I mean, Thailand is notoriously hard to reach, I guess, although I would maybe lean towards, um, I would lean slightly towards Isan. I'm not, this one's honestly kind of tricky. I could definitely see this being central Thailand as well, but I would maybe ever so slightly lean towards Isan. Both of these areas are pretty flat, agricultural. I would tend to I feel like Isan generally is more forested, although this area, if you look in the distance over here, it's not necessarily that forested. It just seems like here, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna switch. We'll see. We'll see. This one is honestly tough. Okay, I mean it wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't know if I would call that central or like eastern Thailand, but yeah, I mean, to me, Isan generally feels a little more forested, and that didn't feel quite so forested when you look through the trees. So, yeah. Okay. Australia, again, eucalyptus trees, you can tell by the they tend to have this very light colored bark most of the time. I mean, sometimes it's very dark as well, but the other thing is like their leaves are very small and like bunched up, so very easy to tell. I mean, we have an Australian bollard here. This is the back of it, so it's the gray, and then here's the red on the front. And yeah, I mean, the vegetation is pretty tall. That definitely is telling me we're somewhere in like most likely the eastern part of the country around here in the Great Dividing Range. Um, it is a little difficult to tell if this is like Victoria or New South Wales. Sometimes like car copyright can help. This is like black 25. I'm not really sure what that means. Um, I would lean maybe Victoria with like the slight hilliness, just something kind of at the foothills of the Great Dividing Range, but it could definitely be a little more north as well, but let's just see. Oh, okay, it was actually Taz. Nah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, Taz would be the other option there. And I think with Black Car 25, actually, that does make sense. Um, yeah, I mean, Victoria Taz, like, can often look very similar, so, yeah. Not my best performance, I would say, but, yeah, hopefully, like, y'all are still learning a few things here. This is really interesting, because, like, I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's Greece. So, like, double white lines are very common in Greece, and then the wooden pole is the other thing. Greece probably has more wooden poles than any other country in Europe. Um, like, just, like, plain poles with nothing, like, no sort of, like, A-frame or anything like that. So, yeah. Um, it's kind of dark, so it's hard to really determine anything. I mean, we have some pines here. I can't tell if they're like Aleppo or Turkish pines. Very dry landscape, I'll say. Um, if I had to make like a kind of specific guess, I would say it might be one of the islands near Turkey. Like maybe Rhodes, but also could be one of the other ones, like the smaller ones. But I kind of, I don't know. Should I try that? Nah, I don't know. I feel like it might just not be. It could also be. Would Carpathos ever look like that? Probably not. Crete possibly could just be closer to mainland. We'll see. Ah, it was Crete. Yeah. I don't know. Something about it felt very dry. Like the hillside didn't have a lot of vegetation on it. Um, I would say pines are not very common in Crete, but yeah, that's why I kind of leaned roads. But yeah, fair enough. All right, this one, Norway. Obviously, we have a flag here. Um, yeah, I mean, typical Norwegian house is made of wood, colored like either like black, white, sometimes red. Yeah, like this like brownish color, as you can see here. Um, Very kind of open farmlandy. I would say that's definitely most common around Oslo. There's also areas around Stavanger, but those areas tend to be very flat and kind of rocky. And I'm definitely not getting that vibe here. And there's like a tiny bit of agriculture around Trondheim as well. So that is also a possibility. Although I think here I would just go in the Oslo area. As you can see, these sort of like more yellow areas are where the agriculture is. So yeah, I'm just going to send around there and we'll see. Okay, very nice. Good stuff. Oh gosh, what is this? Honestly, an NPZ, I'm not really sure what I'm looking at. We have some bamboo. Maybe just Indo then or something. I don't know. Let's see. Let's take a look. Nope. White car. Well, white car can't exist in Indo, so it's not the end all be all, but let's try and figure this out. So we have a coconut palm, bamboo. I mean, my mind goes to Asia, obviously. Um, yeah, I don't know. Not really anything here that's like screaming something. I mean, like Philippines is possible, especially with the white car. 25 copyright doesn't really help either. I would say Indo is still possible. I think just, like Philly, Indo just are the most likely options for this. The soil, it's like kind of brownish and like also gray. That's definitely like this definitely is the type of color of soil you would see on in like a volcanic island. So both Philippines and Indo do have places that could look like this. Um, yeah, I mean, it's tough to say. It's tough to say. I don't know. There's so much like random agriculture going on here as well. Like they're growing like it's like a vineyard or something, which is really weird. There's like a plantation in the back or something there. Um, yeah, I mean this one's quite tough, I would say. And then it looks like there might be some hills over there as well. So like my mind went to a couple of things. One option is Mindanao here. I think Mindanao could definitely fit for this. Firstly, Mindanao has a ton of random like sort of agriculture. Not vineyards necessarily, but they have like sugarcane, bananas, other crops, I guess, pineapple, cassava probably. So like yeah, you can get a lot of different stuff in Mindanao. Um, the soil definitely fits. Mindanao is a volcanic island. You get some volcanoes here with like some really red soil. Um, yeah, I mean, I think it definitely could fit. The other option, I mean, Luzon is possible as well, though less likely. I don't think the landscape necessarily reminds me of Luzon. Um, and then something in Indo is possible. I was thinking Java, obviously, and then I even thought maybe something like Bali or Lombok is possible here. It looks like we have some tall mountains here. It could be like a volcano. It could be Bali and Lombok have that sort of thing going. Um, yeah, I mean, architecture, it's like hard to make out really, so I can't say for certain. I do also see this tree here. Oh man, I really wish I remember the name of it. I don't remember what it's actually called, but people refer to it as Mindanao tree. However, it's also extremely common in like Indonesia. So, it doesn't really help us here, unfortunately. But it definitely kind of reassures me that it's one of those two. So, yeah, I mean, I think I would lean Mindanao here. I think with the white car, which is more common in Philippines, with the agriculture and the soil, I think Mindanao definitely makes sense. And I was thinking, I don't know, like there are kind of some hills up there, maybe. I don't know, maybe not. But I was thinking it's either like here near Cagandoro or a little more south, maybe down here somewhere like near Kidapuan. But I'm gonna try that and see. Okay, nice. Perfect. I mean, that was kind of the only place that made sense. It was a very tricky round. We had like nothing to go off of, but just process of elimination there. Um, with the volcanic soil and the trees and the agriculture. Yeah. All right. Australia again. We got more eucalyptus trees, as I said before, these sort of like small bunch of leaves. What I do see here is like these sort of spiky plants. These are very common in Western Australia, but you do see them elsewhere occasionally, and I would say this is not Western Australia. So, yeah, I mean, mm, it's a tough one. I think it's just Victoria. Is it? Yeah, it's 24 white. Yeah, in Australia, like, car color is very helpful, and I would say that probably makes most sense with Victoria, although it could also be South Australia, like just over the border. There's like a property marker here. I'm not really sure what to make of that. Um, maybe it's not a property marker. I don't know. And I would say like even though like on this side of the the soil is kind of orangey, like this side we have like a very white soil, and I do tend to associate that with like Victoria, South Australia. So I think it makes sense. I'm gonna go like somewhere over here. Okay, yeah, it was just over the border. I mean, pretty good estimate, but unfortunately just wrong side of the border there. But yeah, it definitely makes sense. All right, this one immediately thinking Mexico here. So we have a million sort of like cacti here. Very, very cool cacti, by the way. I don't know if I know this species of cacti. We have some prickly pear here, but these ones, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know which ones those would be. What I do know is, and we have some choya as well, I think. Yeah, this sort of like I don't even know how to describe it. This is choya, yeah. I would say when you see like a good mix of cacti, like the prickly pear and this sort of one and choya, like I would definitely be leaning San Luis Potosi with that. So yeah, that would be my first thought here. Let's look around a little more just to make sure, but it's definitely Mexico. When you see this abundance of cacti, there's really nowhere else it could be. Oh, we have like a city down here. Okay, and then like a little hill here and some buildings on the hill. I don't know if that does that work for San Luis Potosi? Mm, not necessarily, to be honest. I wonder if it could be. I mean, Leon has a hill, which it could be. I'm pretty sure there's a hill. Although this doesn't really look like. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's Leon then. Maybe Querétaro? Like Querétaro does have. Yeah, it could be. Although I don't know. No, I don't. I'm not really. Maybe it is just. Maybe it is just San Luis Potosi here. I have no idea. I'm actually very curious to see where this is. It could be a different town, but yeah, I think it should be around here somewhere. Let's see. Ah, it was Querétaro. Okay. Yeah, I think like Querétaro is the only one of the three that would have buildings up on the hill, because that's where most of the tall buildings are in Querétaro. They're up on this hill, and so we couldn't actually see the main part of the city. But yeah, I guess that makes sense. And then we were looking at Cerro El Zamorano in the distance there. So yeah. All right. US here immediately. I mean, I'm seeing these like very short pines here, which kind of remind me of pitch pine, which you see a lot in like New Jersey and then somewhat on the rest of the eastern coast. Could we be looking at pitch pine? No, I think actually I changed my mind here. Or do I? No, I mean this architecture, like this sort of like trailer, you know, mobile home. Um, I don't know, are they mobile? Whatever. Like these sorts of homes are very southern looking, and then we have like very sandy soil here. I think actually we're probably in Florida, and this is not a pitch pine, but like a either a loblolly or a slash pine. I'm not sure, but yeah. Although we have a this is interesting. We have a eastern red cedar here, although I think it's planted, so I can't really trust it necessarily. But it's a fascinating mix of sort of vegetation around here. But I think just with the sandiness, that's like super common in Florida. Um, and the trees, I mean, yeah. I think, like, to me, this reminds me of the Florida Panhandle, like somewhere around here, like west of Tallahassee. You get this sort of kind of hilly landscape, very sandy, um, and it just feels a little more like out there than um like other parts of Florida. So yeah, I'm gonna go around here and we'll see. Ah, okay, Georgia. Yeah, I mean this part of area is quite hilly. I'm surprised it's that sandy there, although I think the reason for the sandiness in this specific area is the fact that we're kind of on the so over here is like the fall line where like basically the it's like the furthest point on the rivers that you can like go on a ship upstream before you reach like sort of those like waterfalls like the it's like a line basically going like Columbus, Macon, Augusta, and right next to the fall line is like this area of like sandiness. It continues into the Carolinas, and the Carolinas is pretty well known as the Carolina Sandhills. But in Georgia, it's not as common. Like you don't notice it as much, and it's kind of like a more slim, like strip, like a skinny strip of land than it is in the Carolinas. So yeah, but it kind of lines up with that area, to be honest. Like I also have noticed it like around like this area over here as well, a little east of Macon and south of Augusta. So yeah, definitely makes some sense. And the hilliness, makes sense as well there. Okay. So then this so we are selling some salt. I think they definitely have a lot of salt here for sure. I mean, yeah. Um should be Mexico. We have wooden poles. Wooden poles are most common in Baja, but you do also get them in like Sonora, I feel like. Sonora, Sinaloa, maybe. Um, this one is interesting. So we have mountains east. I mean, that certainly makes sense for like Sinaloa, for example. We have like palms over here. So we're like really close to the coast. Palms and then mountains. So I mean, there are definitely parts of Sinaloa that make sense. Maybe like around here, for example, or even more south, like down here. I think that could totally make sense. I would like to make sure that it's not something a little weirder. I think, I mean, I just don't think like anything else is really possible. Um, yeah, I feel like it just has to be kind of this area. Could it be Nayarit side? Maybe. Could be a little more north. Like there's some mountains over here in coast. Could be something like this. Let's see if the road angle lines up. The 4-1 kind of lines up, I guess. Although it looks like we have a off-road here, and I'm not seeing that. So yeah, I think yeah, I think I'm just gonna go around here and we'll see. All right, perfect. Yeah, I mean, if I clicked on the road, I probably would have gotten it, but yep. Okay, Thailand. Ooh, we got some reading here. No, but I can't really make it out. Unfortunately, it looks like the Changwa would be here, and I can't read it, so unlucky. Um, let's see what we've got. We have kind of there's a decent amount of like coconut palms here. I'm seeing bananas, um, milkweed. Is that milkweed? Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, a decent amount of palms here, which is kind of making me think we might be closer to the coast than one might think. I was thinking if we could be in eastern Thailand here. Um, yeah, I don't know, something about it. Yeah, I think I really do like the idea of eastern Thailand here, and eastern Thailand does have a lot of random hills as well, so that also checks out. So yeah, I'm gonna go around here. Okay. You know what? I mean, I lose to center clickers, unfortunately, middle clickers, but yeah, not too bad for Thai standards, I guess. All right, we have a French sign, like entrance sign here. A red tiled roof, very common in many parts of France, but unfortunately doesn't help us really narrow down here. We have, this is like a hedgerow, I guess. Yeah, it looks like a hedgerow, so probably points us a little further north and west. Obviously, like Brittany, as you get closer to Brittany, you kind of get more of that English sort of vibe. Corn, I'm not really sure where hotspots for growing corn are. I will say this name does not look particularly like Breton, so I'm thinking it's not actually in Brittany though, but maybe towards that area. And also the red tiled roofs are not common in Brittany. They would mostly have black roofs there. So yeah, I mean, could be something like Normandy or like this part of Paris kind of towards Normandy. Um, could be a little more south as well, but I feel like I could go with this sort of option. It could be like much further south, honestly. I feel like you do get a lot of corn down here as well. And the red tiled roof could make sense as well, but I'm gonna try somewhere up here. Okay, yeah. Ooh, downtown Belgium. Wow. Okay, that yeah. I mean, with the hedgerow, I think it makes sense. Um, and yeah, I mean, tough one to reaching us, but not too bad. How am I doing on time? Let's see. Um, where's the time? 28 minutes. I feel like I've done enough. I didn't lose my streak. I mean, I feel like if I went until I lost my streak, I'd probably take me a good minute. So yeah, I try to keep my videos not too long for my own sanity, Um, but yeah, no, I'm kidding. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Very casual sort of video. And yeah, see you next time.